Director Cordova, thank you so much for your remarks. I have to second my President and CEO, Deborah Wynn-Smith, in saying how honored the Council on Competitiveness is to be working with you, your team, and it's been, well, just 2 or 3 months we've just really kicked this off, so I think it bodes well for the coming 2 years, and I'll talk a little bit about where we're going. If I knew we were going to be surfing today on waves, I would have brought my board shorts, but we're looking forward to this journey with you. And I wanted just to perhaps share with everyone here a little bit about the Exploring Innovation Frontiers Initiative. My name is Chad Evans. I'm with the Council on Competitiveness. And the journey we're all undertaking really does begin with you all here today. And so we're looking forward to a conversation with you all. As President Peterson mentioned, we are explicitly looking towards deeper dives. So we will be splitting up the day in a series of breakout groups. But to get us there, we're going to be framing some of the high-level remarks in a series of plenary panels. So before we get to our first distinguished panel, I thought I might describe a little bit about where we've been and where we might be headed. As this chart demonstrates, the Council launched, as Deborah Wynn-Smith mentioned, over 10 years ago here at Georgia Tech, a national innovation initiative. And over the course of the following 10 years, engaged in a series of activities to really make the case across the United States that innovation matters. The major findings from our Innovate America report were really embedded in the America Competes Act of 2007. That was also coupled with significant work from the national academies and the Rising Above the Gathering Storm effort. And then over that following 10 years, we've been undertaking a series of studies with our CTO group led by Mark Little and others to really make the business case for innovation. What really mattered in this country from a whole variety of perspectives, whether it was talent, infrastructure, investment. And then, as Deborah mentioned, more recently, we've had the honor and the privilege of launching with the Lockheed Martin Corporation and the National Academy of Engineering a deeper dive into the relevance and criticality not only of the engineering enterprise, but the engineers who are driving this innovation economy. So that just gives a little bit of sense as to where we are today. But what I'd like to really talk a little bit more about is why the Exploring Innovation Frontiers initiative now. We're going to hear a lot of reasons, I think, in some of our conversations why this is critical. I'm going to just mention 2 overarching opportunities, but then I'm going to couple that with some of the challenges we think are facing this nation's innovation economy, and which is really why we've gathered you all here today to help us to begin to address those challenges and to begin to tease out concrete recommendations and next steps to build a new innovation agenda for the country. I think as we've already heard this morning, there's been a tremendous democratization of innovation. What does that mean? We're seeing increasing self-organization through maker spaces, through do-it-yourself biotech. We're beginning to see really open-source digital platforms as enabling infrastructure for innovation. As Deborah mentioned, we're also seeing the massive proliferation and the growth of crowdfunding. And in some sense, we're also beginning to see citizen science. So this is a tremendous time of transformation in this country, which is an untapped opportunity. Another major opportunity that we're seeing and we'd like to explore is really the systematization of innovation. We already heard about the tremendous launch of the new high-performance computing center here at Georgia Tech. With data analytics and big data, we're really able now to begin to really consider the prediction of technological change. And coupled with modeling and simulation capabilities that today, compared to even 2 to 3 to 5 years ago, are profoundly improved, we are beginning to understand path to market for new innovation. This is a tremendous opportunity for this country. And we're also beginning to think about how can we begin to apply the concept of randomized controlled trials to public-private partnerships. We are at this moment in a tremendous era of experimentation in our own public policy environment. For example, if you look at the new National Network of Manufacturing Innovation Institutes, these are tremendous experiments from the administration as to how can we really rethink manufacturing innovation. All of this huge opportunity for this nation, and in fact, the world is looking at us. But I think we also have to be realistic about some of the challenges that we're facing. And I think that is why, one of the reasons why we're here today and really endeavoring on this effort with you all. With regard to the democratization of innovation, we are thinking about how do we deal with this issue of untapped capacity. We've already begun to hear this morning about the demographically narrow participation in this country in STEM. How do we address that? We've already heard two of our speakers this morning talk about the geographic concentration of investment. What do we do about that? How can we address that? And then finally, this perception that higher education is becoming increasingly exclusionary. What are some of the strategies to address that challenge? We're looking forward to hearing some of your recommendations and ideas on this. And then finally, coupled with this systematization of innovation, there's some challenges there too. Over the past decade, the number of new business deaths are outnumbering business births. We've seen a little bit of an uptick over the past year, but we're still in the negative. So how do we is that a structural trend? Is it a cyclical trend? How are we beginning to think about that as a nation? We're seeing liquidity down in U.S. labor markets. Deborah mentioned churn in her opening remarks. That has always been a tremendous asset in this country. We need to rethink that, and how do we really begin to ensure that labor market liquidity is up? And then finally, an inventiveness and balance. We need to make sure that we're ensuring that invention and innovation across the country is really getting out into the marketplace. And so those are some of the underlying opportunities and challenges in this effort, and really I think are the basis of the conversations to come. As the director mentioned, we are explicitly hoping to have these conversations in unexpected places, surfing across this country, of course, beginning in Atlanta, moving to UC Riverside. And this is just a map of potentiality, places where we're beginning to think that we might want to explore together over the coming year. So I'd like for you to keep this in mind, this map, and we'd welcome your feedback. Where ought this initiative go in 2015 and 2016 as we really co-develop together a call to action around innovation?